and welcome to the first edition of It's More Than Just Sports here on the Solano College Sports Network. I'm Greg Poff, and the idea behind this show is to venture beyond the world of sports to give our students here at Solano Community College an opportunity to express their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their thoughts, their feelings concerning many of the events that are going on in the world right now, both internationally and nationally. But before we get into our discussion today, I'd like you to meet our panelists, all from the Solano College Sports Network. Let's start with Tristan Vector, who is our play-by-play announcer. We also have with us today McKenna Guerrero, and if you've seen any of our broadcasts, you're certainly familiar with McKenna's smiling face. She's one of our SCSN reporters. And then today we also have joining us Anthony Williams, our lead cameraman, and also find some time to get into the broadcast booth as well. And finally, I'd like you to meet Julia McKay, photographer, journalist, and also does quite a bit of video editing for the Solano College Sports Network. And so today, as we begin our discussion, we're going to focus on several very important issues: international terrorism, racism. Also, we'll spend some time talking about the environment. And oh yes, there is a presidential election right around the corner. But first, let's turn our thoughts to international terrorism, and more important, how safe you feel in our world now. I know when I was young, I was always told, travel while you're young, get out and see the world. I don't know if that's the case with our young people now. And Tristan, I'll ask you first, and let's create a hypothetical situation. Let's say this fall, you have an opportunity to travel to Paris, France, and to live there for 6 months as an exchange student. 20, 30 years ago, most students would be thrilled about that kind of opportunity. But today, I ask you the question, would you take advantage of that opportunity to travel abroad?
No, I would have to say I wouldn't, because I really plan on, or at least planned, up until the last couple of years on traveling abroad when I graduated college and being able to see the world. But with the way that the world is right now, and specifically Europe, because Europe's where I wanted to travel the most, but it seems to be the most unsafe right now with ISIS and all that. So I would have to say that I wouldn't.
McKenna, how about you? Take advantage of that opportunity? Go live in Paris for 6 months?
I've had a lot of friends that have studied abroad these last couple of years, but honestly, I don't think I could. I wouldn't feel safe enough, and I know, like, what you were saying, like, oh, travel young, but we kind of have our whole lives ahead of us, so I think I'm just going to not take that opportunity, stay here, and then focus on what I want to do.
And then maybe things get a little bit better.
Hopefully.
That's the hope. Anthony, how about you?
Well, I wouldn't take the chance either. Like McKenna said, we have our whole life ahead of us. And right now, my best friend is in Paris right now, and I'm just scared for her because a lot of things can happen or have been happening. And like when she doesn't text me back or doesn't pick up the phone, I'm just like worried about her.
Yeah, and if you look at the 3 most recent attacks in Paris, then in Turkey, and this past weekend in Nice, I believe college students from the United States were victims in each of those 3 situations. Julia?
I believe I would still take the chance to study abroad, just because I wouldn't want to live my days in fear of traveling anytime, but I also believe that security should be stepped up when it comes to keeping everyone safe in foreign countries, whether or not it could be America stepping up and stepping in to help out other countries as well. So.
Well, that takes me to the next question I had for our panel is, what do we do about this? I mean, you guys, all college students, as you said, future ahead of you. What ideas, what can we do to make the world a safer place?
I don't know, after the whole Orlando shooting, when it came out that they actually knew that the guy that shot everybody is part of ISIS, it kind of made me sick to my stomach, because it's like, okay, us as a country, we know that, but we don't stop it. So, I mean, I was kind of thinking about this last night, like, what if when we entered an airport or a club or anything like that, of that matter, we would take a blood sample, but, I mean, because you can't really put someone else's blood inside you, so you would know who they were based on that.
So we'd have to get a blood sample from everybody in the United States.
I would be okay with it. But.
All right. What are some other thoughts and ideas?
Well, I just know something has to be done, especially with security. Just find a fair way to just like do like some type of background check on people and see like where they are mentally and, you know, just like that.
It's tough for us here in the United States where we embrace our freedom, but at the same time, limiting some of those freedoms sometimes is the answer in creating a safer world for all of us. How about you, Julia?
I believe just stepping up our security would help a lot, as well as just getting America involved maybe, because it seems like a lot of these countries, they're not doing their best to keep others safe. So in reality, maybe with America's help, we could end up leaving all these different countries, including our own, to be a lot more safer. Because if we all come together and help each other, I believe somehow we can find a way to keep everyone safe.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to the next issue I'd like to discuss is in terms of military action. You know, there's a lot of people for, hey, we need to go in. You listen to Donald Trump, we need to go in and we need to take care of ISIS. But at the same time, if you look at ISIS, largely a result of the Iraq War. So if you go in and attack, does that breed more terrorism? If you don't, does terrorism continue on and on? How do we handle that dichotomy?
I mean, like you said, if all of us had the answers right now, we wouldn't be
Yeah, you wouldn't be here in community college,
yeah,
right?
So, you know, it's a tough question to answer and a question that the leaders of our country really need to answer. But like you said, I mean, it is a result of the Iraq War, so you wonder, you know, if more military action is the right move, but no military action is not the right move. That's all I know. We can't just ignore it like it's not happening because it's going to continue to happen.
Right, and you think just relying on elected officials and legislation is the way to stop the problem?
I mean,
Are there things that we can actually do to make the world a safer place?
Have our voices be heard as well, I believe.
Yeah, I really believe it's up to you guys, right? I mean, this is your future. This is your world. What's your generation going to do? And it's not as bad as it seems. Because when I was growing up in the 60s, early 70s, you had the assassination of President Kennedy. Then you had the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., the assassination of Robert Kennedy. Then you also had the Vietnam War. You had Watergate right around the corner. So a lot of issues, a lot of negativity, but each generation seems to find their way. You guys will have to do the same, but I certainly think the way that you deal with international terrorism is something that we didn't have to deal with when I was your age. The term hijacking, we never had heard of that term before. So I think it's real important for all of you to really think about what is the best way to make the world a safer place. And
And what's kind of scary too is technology. Because, I mean, people can tap into things, people can hack things, so that's really scary. And that's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger because technology grows every day. So that's one thing that I think is a fear in everybody.
yeah, and we embrace the technology. Cool, makes our lives so much better, so much easier, but at the same time, it can be problematic as well. Well, certainly another issue that is facing our young people here in the United States, along with international terrorism, is the racism situation, and especially the problem that we seem to be having in race relations. We'll be right back after this to talk about that here on It's More Than Just Sports on the Solano College Sports Network.
Hi, I'm Melanie Fuller with the Solano College Sports Network. The end of summer is right around the corner, which means that fall sports are about to begin. We will be covering football for Vacaville and Wilsey Wood High School. Vacaville is expected to have a better season this year, after losing to Wilsey Wood in the Black and Blue Bowl for the first time in 18 years. Wilsey Wood is coming off of their best season in school history. Right off the bat, Wood is facing Concord High School, who they lost to 55-16 last season. We will also be featuring the Lady Falcons volleyball and soccer teams. Mia Satterfield Pau, Esmeralda Cortez Serrano, Talia Glenn, and Terry Gutierrez will be returning to the 2016-2017 women's volleyball team. The women's soccer team has a whopping 17 returners. Be sure to check out all of our fall sports and past events on our Facebook page, our YouTube page, or Fairfield Cable Access Channel 28 if you live in the area. I'm Melanie Fuller, and thank you for supporting the Solano College Sports Network.
Welcome back. In this segment, we'll focus on race relations in the United States, and I'll just open it up to the panel. We're all aware of the racial tension in the United States, especially in the last month, with the 2 shootings of African Americans, both in Louisiana and Minnesota, the retaliation, Dallas, Louisiana. How do you guys feel about the state of race relations in the United States?
Well, as an African American man, you know, a lot of these police shootings against African Americans have been really crazy. You know, starting with Trayvon Martin, Oscar Grant, among others. They just,
Yeah, it's not like it just started 2 weeks ago, right?
It's been happening, like even before Oscar Grant, it's been happening. But now that it's worldwide, I think people have really taken attention to it and have been trying to do more, like the protests and people blocking off highways, and they just want to be heard right now, and they're doing a great job.
Yeah, and a lot of anger too. What do we do to deal with this situation? And I think we've seen some examples just recently.
Everybody looks at me.
Well, I think it's an important question, right?
The biggest cause of racial tension right now is between African Americans and the police department as a whole. So for the police department, we talked about yesterday, what they need to do is really get involved in the communities more, build a relationship with the people around them, and really come across as more personable people so that when they get into situations like this, they can get some more respect and not have it escalate the way that it has. And then as just people in general, you know, police or not, it's the same thing. All you got to do is build relationships with the people around you, you know, and never discriminate on who you hang out with, and just see people as people and not as the color of their skin.
Have any of you experienced any kind of racism?
When I lived in Oregon, I actually did. I grew up in San Diego, so I never really knew what, I mean, everyone knows what racism is, but I didn't experience it there because everyone looks at each other like human beings and not by color. And when I got there, like,
And what is your race, McKenna?
I'm Hispanic.
Right.
And when I got to Oregon, like, people would say, oh, I would never date a, like, Mexican girl. And I actually had a counselor call my mom, and then he asked me the next day, he was like, why does your mom sound white on the phone? And I was like, because she's white. And then he was like, well, how does that happen? Like, you can't have an interracial marriages because, like, Mexicans are looked down upon. So I just thought that was, like, so sick to my stomach. I didn't realize that people were actually like that.
Well, I never got that memo on interracial relations.
Yeah.
Anthony, do you fear being pulled over? And have you had situations where you've been pulled over, and how did that go?
Well, I always fear being pulled over and having the wrong cop try to be too aggressive, you know, because a lot of these cops, they think shoot first and ask questions later, and that's what's wrong. As far as ever being pulled over, no, I haven't. But these cops, they just need to calm down, and others have to do something about this, because cops, they tend to get off on all these shootings, and they just need to be locked up like other people.
Yeah, and I don't think it's all police officers, obviously, right? It's the few, but then those are the ones that, if they show up in a situation, panic, shoot first, not sure if it's a lack of training, racism. I think it could be a combination. But we're talking about things to do, create more diversity. Police can do things more in the community. Specifically, what can be done, and what can you do as college students to improve race relations in your country?
Well, the thing is, I feel like it all starts at home. And I feel like what you implement in your kids, they're going to grow up and they're going to teach their kids, and it's just going to go on generation and generation. So I feel like, I mean, we're going to have kids someday, and I feel like we need to teach our kids right from wrong and not look at people by their color, but just as human beings.
And what can the police do? And I think we're seeing some of that right now. I know over the weekend here in Fairfield, some of the police officers were meeting with youth groups, and I think we're seeing that throughout the nation. In fact, I saw a couple of things on MSNBC the other day showing the police actually going into the communities, interacting, and just a lot of hugging and crying. And even though we've had a string of tragedies involving race relations, it has really shed some light on the fact that we still have a problem that needs to be fixed, and I think we're seeing people respond.
Yeah, well, like Tristan said, cops getting involved in the community is always a good way to, just calm down and get to know people better. But also, I think they should have like a monthly training program for certain situations and to see what cops are progressing and what cops aren't, so we can know what they need help with.
Also, just to look back at their handbooks as well, because you get the list of rules that you have to do before you have to lead to shooting or just hurting the people who are actually being accused of doing some sort of crime. They have a list of things to do before you can actually shoot a person. And I feel like a lot of cops forget to go through those rules, and because of that, a lot of them are getting let off the hook as well, because, not as many people would know, what is going on.
And it's not an easy job.
Yeah.
I think we all agree on that. So, as individuals, I think one thing that we can do as well, and I say this in the classroom all the time, if we just eliminate any kind of labeling that indicates race in our language, I think that's a good step to try to solve racism. Because my experience, especially in the classroom, here at Solano Community College, and the diversity we have in the classroom, it shows me, hey, we can all get along, right? And I see a lot of productivity in the classroom. And I think it really comes down to what the Queen of Soul taught us back in the 60s, right? That's how I learned to spell. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, right? A little bit of respect goes a long way, especially in dealing with race relations. All right, excellent. That sums up our segment on racism. We'll be right back to talk about the environment here on the Solano College Sports Network.
If you have an interest in a career in sports broadcasting,
whether it's behind the scenes or on camera,
then this is the class for you.
Class is held every Wednesday from 1:30 to 4:30 in room 121 alongside the library building.
For more information, contact Greg Poff. That's me at solano.edu.
We hope to see you here next semester. And remember,
it's more than just sports, it's an education.
Welcome back, and just a quick side note, as you just saw our promotional video for our sports network here at Solano Community College, where we're the only community college in the nation to have our own sports network. But as you're seeing today, we like to expand beyond the world of sports, and if you're interested in being a panelist here on our show, all you need to do is to sign up either for Communication Studies 75A or 80A in the fall semester here at Solano Community College. You can find all the information in the Solano Community College schedule of classes. All right, panels, let's move on to the environment. And this is the one issue that I really think impacts all of you. Because if you just look at the evidence and what we're hearing, the environment is really in trouble. And if something isn't done, it's not going to get any better. And so when you think about your future, your children's future, and their children's future, what are your views on the environment? And more importantly, what can we do to make the environment better? What are some of the issues that face you right now when it comes to the environment?
Definitely oil drilling would be one of the big issues at hand, because we take oil drilling from the oceans earlier in the earlier 2000s, and now we have them in neighborhoods such as East LA. Just right outside your door you have oil drillings happening, as well as just all of the pollution that's happening within the air because of the oil drilling that's happening. And if it's happening in just this neighborhood, specifically in LA, it could happen in close as where we live.
And so what are the
that's a big
consequences of that?
problem.
a lot of people have gotten cancer. There's certain streets, I know, in Winters, that people have gotten breast cancer just from all the businesses that were there. And
Right, now that wouldn't be from oil drilling, right?
No, but
Okay.
just how that environment affects that, and that's kind of what happens.
What are you guys going to do about it? Right? I mean, this is really, I think, the key issue for your generation. How do we make the environment better?
I mean, the biggest thing that you have to do is switch off of our heavy usage of fossil fuels like we talked about yesterday. And, you know, whether that's getting solar panels in your house or a more fuel-efficient car, or even a car like that doesn't run on gas anymore, like we're switching to like volts and stuff. So anything you can do to switch off of fossil fuels and make the air quality better.
And they're becoming bigger each day as well, just hybrids and volts. Those are just becoming a lot more popular nowadays, and a lot of the older cars, they're just going to be gone for the most part within the next few years, I believe. Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting, too, when you think about what each generation does to improve the environment. And I remember learning this in a history class back at the turn of the century when the automobile was first invented. And that was really seen as a way to improve the environment, because up until that time, it was all horses. You had horse crap all over the place, right? That created all kinds of pollutions, especially in a lot of the big urban areas. And so really, it was the development of the car and then the use of fossil fuels was seen as a way to improve the environment. So, how do we make the shift from fossil fuels to other more efficient renewable energies? Because along with that, when you switch, that's going to come with the loss of jobs. How do you tackle those two issues? Keep the economy going, but we want to improve the environment by getting rid of our dependence on fossil fuels.
Well, sometimes you just have to take a sacrifice. And right now, the environment really needs help. We have to take better care of the environment, like you said, the air pollution, and with the cars, and it just needs to improve, because right now I have a hybrid car and I love it. The ecosystem is really good. So I think
You got your spoiler on the back of your little Prius there?
No, that was my old car.
Yeah, I know.
But, yeah. But right now, yeah, we just need to take care of the environment and do better.
Yes, excellent. But still not answering the question, what about the jobs that we lose? Aren't we just going to create more jobs through newer forms of energy? I think that's the key, is transferring the workforce from one industry to the other. I think that's the issue you guys really need to be able to tackle. And two, when it comes to change, just don't think it's going to be the elected officials, right? Change, I think, meaningful change starts from the ground up. And so really, I think for this generation, a real need to get more involved in the whole political process. Don't do like I did. Just kick back, go to work, and you think somebody else is going to fix the problem, right? Doesn't always work out that way. What are some things, Tristan, that you can do individually to better protect the environment?
Well, like we said, switching, you know, cars or solar panels type of thing, and then just, you know, obviously recycling and saving water when you can, not wasting it, is pretty much just some of the basic things that you can do yourself.
Yeah, another issue facing us in California, right? The drought, even though a lot of rain, El Nino this past season, still not quite there as far as overcoming the drought. What things do you do, McKenna, to preserve water?
To preserve water, I try to take shorter showers.
Yeah?
Because I know that's really important. And then we don't water our lawn as much as we used to, so that really helps. But what you were saying about recycling, I think that's really grown. I mean, you see it at theme parks, you see it at concerts now, so I think that's...
Here at the college.
Yeah.
There's so many different colored cans,
Yeah.
you don't know which one goes where, right?
And then
I guess
Julia-
that's where reading comes in.
And Julia, you were saying that they actually have separate ones for like
Cardboard, just like regularly, I believe that they have stuff for plastic as well as just trash, and then cardboard. And I believe over time we're actually getting better with making it easier for the younger generations to recycle, also making it easier compared to how it was back in the early 2000s where you would just have a recycling bin. So.
Yeah, and you guys have kind of grown up in the recycling age where that seems to be more of a norm than
Yeah.
when I was a kid. We had one trash can, right? Didn't even hear much about recycling till late 60s, early 70s, and that was with aluminum cans. All right. So do you think the environment is going to get better? Do you think there's hope for your future generations? We're going to get this done?
I think eventually it will. If everybody takes action to this problem, then anything can happen. We could see a much better improvement to the world and just different communities.
Does anybody here deny climate change? Not quite sure about the evidence? Yeah, I think that's pretty much the case, at least my experience with young people, that everybody is buying in. Yeah, we've got a problem. The key is, what can we do to fix it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've taken care of international terrorism, ideas on racism. We know how to fix the environment. Come on back after this message, and we'll talk about the 2016 presidential elections coming up. We'll be right back.
Interested in a career in sports broadcasting? Well, Solano College is the right college for you. Fall 2016, Solano is offering not one, but 2 sports broadcasting classes. COM 75A is for the people who want to be in front of the camera, like me. You will focus on real-life, on-air, internet, and televised broadcast. Not only will you be in front of the camera, you will learn the fundamentals of play-by-play description, color commentary, do interviews with players and coaches, and even host your own sports talk show. For those of you who want to be more behind the scenes, COM 80A is the class for you. You will learn the fundamentals of televised sports broadcasts, both in studio and on location. You will also learn the fundamentals of computer graphics, videography, instant replay, and pre- and post-production editing. Cool, right? Both classes are held from 1 to 3:55 in room 121 of the main campus building. 75A is held on Wednesdays and 80A is held on Mondays. See you there.
Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. This is a very traditional quotation that I just made up this morning. No. How do you guys feel about plagiarism?
If you're Mrs. Trump, yeah, okay.
Let's talk about the 2016 presidential election, of course, making the reference to Melania Trump lifting Michelle Obama's speech to start off the Republican National Convention. We've got the elections. I guess the first question that I want to ask, just kind of guessing here, I'm going to assume that for some of you, first time voting for president?
I think
All of us.
Yeah? All right. Be my second, right? But is anybody here voting for Trump? Yeah, you know, it's interesting, and obviously, you know, officially nominated as the nominee, no more this presumptive nominee. No, Trump is the nominee, but teaching public speaking last semester, we have what's called an opinion speech where students have the opportunity to speak on anything they want. A lot of students talked about the primaries. I did not hear one speech in support of Donald Trump. I didn't hear many for Hillary either. Most of the speeches were for Bernie Sanders. Unfortunately, for a lot of you, I know Bernie supporters going in. So is it safe to assume that whether you like it or not, everybody here voting for Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think so, especially if you want us to be a little bit more safer, especially for minorities like McKenna and I, because I don't know of any Latinos that are actually voting for Trump.
Unless they're just sick in the head or something.
Exactly, or getting paid by Trump as well, so who knows.
And he refers to them, oh, my Mexican American,
Oh,
right?
my God.
Goodness gracious.
My God.
But are you happy with the choice? I mean, especially all of you getting to vote for the first time. Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, is Dad not too happy about that, are you?
No.
Why not, Tristan?
Because I don't support either one really as far as their overall ideas on how to run the country. I definitely feel like there have been elections in the past with better options for us, so I'm not really happy with the choices this year.
And so is it safe to say that with all of you, really it's the lesser of two evils?
Yeah.
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 I mean, for one thing, Trump's an idiot. I mean, I don't
Just say
understand
it like it is.
how he wants to build a wall, but he was trying to build hotels in Mexico, and then that fell through. So would he still want to build a wall if those hotels would be there now? Like, he just kind of contradicts, like, everything he says. So,
He also has no experience whatsoever on how to run a country. compared to Hillary Clinton, whereas she was Secretary of State, you have her working with anything involving international affairs, and that's a big problem going on right now, I believe, in our society as well. So when it comes down to it, I feel like Hillary Clinton would be a better fit when it comes to who should be president for 2016.
Yeah. Like you were saying, Julia, Hillary has the experience, and also she has the support of Barack Obama. And we all support Barack Obama.
I was just going to ask, everybody happy with the last 8 years?
Oh,
Yes.
definitely.
very
All right.
Yes.
Do you feel the need that we must make America great again?
No.
Right? Which he lifted. That was Ronald Reagan's campaign.
It's crazy
Back in the
too,
early 80s.
because Barack Obama has done so much for our country. I believe there wasn't really a need to make America great again. I believe we were actually progressing from how we were back in 2007, where you had the economy, which was just plummeting, and Barack Obama brought us back up, I believe.
Yeah, I remember, gosh, 2008.
Yeah.
Unemployment, I think, in Vallejo was over 10%, like 11, 12% maybe. I know it's really come back down. Unemployment now under 5%, if I'm correct. So certainly there have been some pluses. So would all of you agree that you're better off now than you were 8 years ago?
Oh, of course.
Yes.
I mean,
Definitely.
8 years ago I was 10, so I didn't really think about.
So it's kind of
where I
iffy,
was.
right?
Yeah.
But in
Was little
reality,
Tristan
yeah.
playing hockey then?
Yes, I've been playing hockey since 4.
All right. And kind of interesting, too, some diversity here on the panel. Everybody, big supporter of Barack Obama. I was as well. I thought he's done an outstanding job. And kind of like you, looking at the two choices, Hillary, as you said, Julia, more experience both running a country and foreign policy. How does that whole email thing kind of play into that? Are you guys buying that as a reason to reject her as president? Do you think there should have been criminal charges brought against her, as Rudy Giuliani was claiming last night at the Republican National Convention?
I mean, I think that it was a crime and that, you know, she should have been punished in some way for it, but it's not necessarily a reason for
What
her
was the crime?
not to be, you know, the president, because, I mean, God, if she had been disqualified for some reason and we had to, Trump was going to just get it. So, I mean, I'm glad with the result that she's still running because, I mean, I just don't want to see Trump as a president.
And Julie, I think you even brought this up the other day. We were talking about the elections, and I think you even mentioned that, well, if we're in a national emergency, right, or under martial law, then actually Barack Obama could remain as president for up to 2 years?
Yeah, exactly. And the person who actually brought that about was Ben Carson, who
Uh-oh.
yeah, who was a former Republican candidate, and he was explaining the fact that with all of the problems that are going on just in America alone, with all of the riots and just all of the things that are going on, Barack Obama himself, he could declare martial law, which could lead to him being president still for another 2 years.
Probably safe to say not going to happen.
No.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, when you look at this presidential election, what are some other issues that are important to you? How do you guys feel about legalizing marijuana? Right? It's going to be on the ballot, right? For California as young people, right?
I feel like just marijuana in general, it's used so much. There, you have so many people in California doing it already. There's too many people to even say how many. So at this point, you kind of think, well, I mean, if people are doing it safely and it's not so harmful at all, then why not? I mean, I'm not a marijuana user, but
Probably
honestly,
safe to say that you all have friends
Yeah.
who smoke pot. You've
Yes.
probably been
Yeah.
around people who are high, right? Not the problem, right, that we make it out to be?
Yeah,
I mean, you definitely don't need to put someone in jail or prison
For burning the herb.
No.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
Because marijuana, it doesn't really do anything harmful to you. It makes you hungry and want to go to sleep.
But it doesn't make you want to go out and kill a bunch of people. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't create a bad trip like, you know, LSD or some
Xanax
other
even.
heavy
Xanax
drug.
has become really popular
It
in
has been.
teens. I mean, I know people of my age. I just recently graduated from Vacaville High School, and there were kids using it a lot just to, I mean, but there are so many people that have died from it. So
Yeah.
So legalizing weed, cool. I figured it would be. It usually is with college students. In fact, we'll probably see more college students voting than is typical in an actual election. And then just back to the 2016 election, do you see any other issues that will be an important outcome? I think this is a very significant election. And why? Especially
I guess women's rights.
yeah. We know there's going to be the appointment of one Supreme Court justice and could be 2, 3, possibly 4. So I think if we want to kind of keep going in the same direction, what do you guys think?
It'll definitely lead to equality when it comes to men and women, having more women involved in higher positions, such as in the Supreme Court, a lot more involved, as well as just having Hillary being president. I mean, even though she's done certain things be dishonest, but there are so many other presidents in the past who we don't even know that could have done something dishonest.
Right.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with the emails, it's just been blown out of proportion. And especially when you look at past secretaries of states, Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, use their own personal email servers. You didn't hear anything about that. Why? Well, they're not running for president.
Yeah.
Somebody's not trying to attack them. And in the various investigations, everybody had access to all those emails that were sent. And if there was something in any of those emails that really was a threat or violated national security, you can bet your bottom dollar the Republicans would have mentioned that and you would have heard about that. So I kind of look at that as that's just kind of grabbing straws, trying to come up with a reason. Now, not denying that there have been a lot of shenanigans in the past with the Clintons, and there is that problem of trust, but I don't know that the email issue would be the central issue in that.
And then a lot of people go back to Bill Clinton's, womanizing scandals, but I don't think that really has anything to do with if
Governing?
you should. Yeah, exactly.
Or running a country. in
I mean,
general,
I feel
yeah.
like that happens with everyone.
In every job, every walk
exactly.
of life,
Yeah.
absolutely right. Cool. How do we bring the country together?
Well, the thing is, like, when you think about it, when you think about the two candidates, they're just, like, they're bashing each other. And I feel like that's where it kind of starts because, I mean, if you want to win, why do you need to bash somebody else?
Did any of you see the Republican National Convention last night? Chris Christie, I mean, it was just all anti-Hillary. I don't know that I heard anything as far as, here's a reason to vote for Donald Trump, other than the fact that he's going to make America great again.
No, it's just like negative, negative, negative. That's not how you.
Does
grow.
that work with you guys?
No, because it's like, if you're so focused on bashing someone else, what are you trying to do to make the country better, I guess?
And even on Twitter, you have Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump going at it by arguing with each other over social media, and that it just makes me feel like, oh, they're really immature for doing that. They're basically like
Exactly.
16-year-olds
And
as
they
well.
they always like preach about like, oh, cyberbullying. Well, what are you doing? What
Yeah.
are you teaching everybody? Like
Yeah.
they're doing the same thing and they're older.
Could you
Yeah.
Could you imagine if Trump University was still afloat? Could you imagine how happy all those kids would be as far as turning in papers? Oh, I guess plagiarism is cool. You really couldn't do anything about that at that university. Might be the reason it went under, right?
Probably.
Well, I think sports is a great way to bring the country together. I'll mention that in a second, but just one last question I'm interested in. Who are your friends voting for? And even, do you guys talk about politics with your friends?
Definitely. I believe that we all sort of share the same views, as well as the fact that there are some kids that could be Republican or Democrat, and what I feel like my generation has a problem with is accepting both sides. Because, as soon as I hear someone like is Republican, then your automatic thought in your head would be, oh, okay, I don't really like them, but at the same time you should welcome their views as well. So in reality, maybe we should start to, basically welcome people.
Right,
Like,
be more
yeah,
accepting.
yeah,
Be
be more
accepting of the
open.
diversity, as we talked about when we were discussing race relations. How about your friends, Anthony?
Well, my friends, they all wanted Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
And my younger cousins, we all wanted Bernie. But my grandma and my mom, they want Hillary, just because they think she's excellent for the country. But we'll have to see.
And how much influence do you feel from your parents and the environment that you grew up in? Has that had an impact kind of on your political outlook? I know it was with me. I grew up very conservative, Republican.
Yeah.
Right? And so you kind of grow up, and that's kind of your bias that you grow up with. That's one of the beautiful things I think about college. You get to college, chance to think for yourself. You encounter new ideas. I know that's what it was for me. When I went into Long Beach State, I was a Reagan supporter. I came out a member of the Peace and Freedom Party. Then I kind of found my way and came back to just kind of a moderate Democrat. How about you guys and your friends?
Yeah, definitely. Like what Julia was saying about the friends. You know, we do talk about it, and I don't talk about it with my friends all that often. You know, but we do get into debates and stuff sometimes. But yeah, and same thing as you said. I grew up extremely conservative Christian household, Republican no matter what. And really what I'm finding for myself now is that we really need to break away from the party system. And like what she said with, you know, people ask you if you're Republican or Democrat, and if you say what they don't like, they may not even like you. Like, it might stop there, the conversation. And I dream of the day that we get off of parties completely, and it's just this person running against this person, and who's better, you decide. You know what I mean? Because Republican or Democrat doesn't matter. It matters on who's better for the country in that position.
Yeah, especially being so entrenched in that two-party system. We get two choices, and like for you guys, all voting for the same time. I'm really not happy with either choice. Just getting rid of the two-party system, that's the challenge. Well, this has been great. I think a little slow start, but we warmed up, right? Got some momentum, especially talking about the 2016 presidential elections. It really warms my heart. 20 years ago, at least, I don't remember students being as involved in political discussions. I notice it a lot more now, and I just think that's great. I think the more you're involved in politics and in making decisions about governing yourselves, the better country that we're going to have. And as I look at all of you, I see a bright future. I'm full of hope. It's just a matter of being able to get out there and make your voice heard. And I think one of the great unifiers for our country has always been our love of sports. Sports is the one unifier that can bring us all together. And so if that's something that you're interested in, please join our sports broadcasting program here at Solano Community College. I'm not shameful at all, am I? Always a plug for the Solano College Sports Network. Well, this has been great. Tristan, McKenna, Anthony, Julia. Also, would like to thank Vernon and Tiana. We got Melanie Fuller on the camera, and Brian Nelson, our producer. Bill Way, also in the back from Fairfield TV, helping us to make sure we get through this. And we don't want to forget about our crack camera person. I was leaving him out because I still need him to do that baseball game on Sunday. If you nod your head in agreement, that would make me a lot happier. All right, folks, that's it for us here in the Solano College Sports Network. Thanks for joining us, and please look forward to our next episode of It's More Than Just Sports here on the Solano College Sports Network.